Alrighty, welcome again. I am once again coming online without any prior warning. Probably continue to keep doing things like that until something changes, but that's why it's so great, because I get to archive stuff. So today we're going to continue talking along the lines of the Matrix and educating you on how to exit the Matrix, how to control the Matrix. You know, when people say exit the Matrix, what they really mean is they just don't want to be a slave anymore. They don't want to be a slave to anything, and they don't want to feel controlled. And most importantly, everybody wants the same thing. Everybody wants to be fulfilled and achieve their highest fulfillment. And I don't care, you know, how you look at that, whether that is to be the best person, the best parent, the best, you know, even if it's, you know, you want to give your life in service for others, you do that because you believe that will give you fulfillment. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. And a lot of us have, you know, mistaken ideas about what it is that fulfills us, and that's, you know, part of the journey here. So we are going to be talking today about the 5 steps, the 5 ways that you can control the Matrix. And this is really fundamental to get the most out of life. To understand that you can control this thing we call the Matrix. I'm going to be talking about what exactly the Matrix is, because it's important that you understand it. If you haven't already and you're watching this after it's been archived, you may also want to watch the other videos connected to this, the 5 rules of the Matrix, the 5 steps to escape the Matrix, which we just did a couple days ago. That was a live Q&A. This will be a live Q&A, and I'll wait until enough people come on before we start allowing any questions to come in. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started right in it. But before I do that, I want to ask you some questions. And I want you to be honest. You know, in my experience, especially in Q&As and stuff like that, when I throw out these kinds of questions, people take them as I'm challenging them. And I'm not. I want you to honestly ask yourself this question, which is, are you happy? Are you fulfilled? It is okay if you're not. Just be honest. It's okay. I haven't been fulfilled the majority of my almost 54 years on this planet. And I have, you know, the past few years, I really have been living in a state of being fulfilled. Now, that doesn't mean that I haven't had some challenges. I have. I've had normal human challenges, but I've been really fulfilled and happy in my life. And more importantly, I feel like I have control over my destiny. And I haven't had that for a lot in my life. So ask yourself if you're happy, if you're fulfilled in your life. Just be honest, whatever the answer is. The next question I want to ask you, again, a lot of people want to respond out of their ego. And so, you know, don't take it as a challenge. You know, I can't see you or hear you. You're just watching this video. So ask yourself this question and sit with it. Are you afraid? Is there anything that you're afraid of in life? Are you afraid of death? I'd be lying to you if I said that I would probably experience some fear if I knew that my death was imminent, so I would have to say yes to that. Are you afraid of dying? Are you afraid of the government? Are you afraid of taxes? Are you afraid of health care? Are you afraid of spiritual entities, demons, aliens, archons, Jehovah? Are you afraid? You know, just think about it. Be honest with yourself. Are you afraid of in life? Do you view things through the filter of fear? Like, do you spend a lot of time watching videos about, you know, how the government is trying to destroy your life? You know, how politicians are destroying your life, how reptilians are destroying your life, God, the devil. Do you spend a lot of time listening to people who tell you that there are things out there trying to destroy you or take your energy away from you? Just be honest. Do you do that? What if you didn't have to do that? Now, here's the thing. A lot of people are addicted to that. They like it. They don't want to give it up. But how would you like to not have to be afraid anymore? How would you like to not have any doubt about what you're going to do with the rest of your life and how and where you're going to live? How would you like to not have to worry about finances? Those are all possible, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So before I go any further, I'm going to put up the five ways to control the matrix, and I'll go into each of them, and while I'm doing that, I'll check to see if there's anybody online. Okay, so those are the 5 ways to control the matrix. So if you scroll down in the notes section, you'll see some links to some other video playlists, and those are the same playlists from the previous live Q&A that we did. And so feel free to watch. In fact, I recommend that you watch them while I'm on the subject. Listen, I know the way YouTube works. It's designed to just catch your attention, and you go from one video to another. And listen, spend some time on my channel. Go to my actual YouTube channel and watch the videos. Spend some time watching the playlists, because all of your answers that you have for me most likely will be answered there. And if you really want to master these things, you have to educate yourself. And you know, there's a lot of great stuff on YouTube, but there's stuff on my channel I feel pretty confident you're not going to find anywhere else. So watch my videos. So so we have to start with number 1. So number 1 is knowledge. Now that's the same as the last one, because it's extremely, 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 extremely important that you have an accurate foundational knowledge. We could talk about escaping the matrix or exiting the matrix or controlling the matrix, or even other things like enlightenment. We could talk about all those things from now until the end of time, but if you do not have an accurate foundational understanding, a lot of the things will either go over your head, or you won't be able to apply them, or they won't accomplish what you need. You know, I've worked with people who were spiritual masters, some of them extremely powerful, that could do things that you wouldn't believe even if I told you. But they do not know how to control the matrix. They are not happy, they are not fulfilled. Some of them. A couple of them are. But the majority of them weren't. And so it's important, and it's because they did not have the correct foundational understanding of what the universe is, and what they are, and what their relationship to the matrix is. And without that understanding, you won't be able to completely control or escape, if that's your goal. You won't be able to do those things if you don't have a basic understanding. So we're going to start with, what is the matrix? So first off, I know you may have difficulty accepting what I'm saying, but just for now, just do me a favor and indulge me, and just accept what I'm saying as at least on a hypothetical level. Okay? First thing you need to know is that you created the matrix. Nobody else created it. You created it. Since you created it, that means that you can control it. It means you can exit it. All of those things. You have that ability. I know you may not feel that way, but it's true. So now we need to talk about what it is actually made of. Because when you understand that, then we can talk about how you relate to it. And when you understand that, then everything else that I tell you is going to make a lot more sense. So the matrix, again, the matrix is a word that we use now. We've been using it for the past 10 or 15 years or however long it's been. The movie The Matrix is a symbol. By the way, I was involved in that movie. I was a reader for that movie, which meant that I sat on the other side of the camera while the casting director tested people, and a lot of people in that movie I actually read with, and they almost cast me in it, or at least talked about it anyway, back when I was an actor. So I have a close connection to this movie, but it's a movie, and people are you know, they are basing their entire lives off this movie. All of the things in the movie, the Matrix, the computer code, the agents, all of that stuff are symbols designed to jog your memory. Now, I actually talked with the writers. They were just trying to write a nice science fiction movie. But here's the thing about writers. If they write something that has this kind of impact on people's lives, it means that they are channeling something through their writing. That the ascended masters, the gods, the whomever you want to call it, the universe is transmitting truths through them that people will be able to use to change their lives for the better. The Matrix is one of those movies. There are symbols in that if you understand what the universe is saying and how to decode those symbols, you will be able to control the Matrix. There's a lot of people on there that's on YouTube that spend, you know, how many hours and hours and hours, you know, trying to decode this symbol and that symbol off of television. Listen, they're missing the boat. The symbols are right there in this film. So we're going to talk about what the Matrix is. The Matrix is, before I go any further, you know, before we started using the word the Matrix the way we do now, before we invented computers, Matrix was like a petri dish. It was something that was used to create, you know, a culture of bacteria or whatever. It was something that was used to nourish some other little microbe or life form so that it could grow within that matrix. Matrix means the mothers. The Hindus and the Vedic Hindus understood that our universe is created by Maya, which means illusion. Maya is a woman's name because it is a feminine deity. So the mother, that which gives birth, creates the matrix. And so the matrix is made up of life force energy. So in my ethnic tradition, this life force energy is woven together by 3 goddesses whose names represent origins, which is the past, Verdandi, which means the immediate coming into being, which means the present, and Schuld, which means the future, literally means debt. But to understand that there is no such thing as time without space, there is no such thing as space without time. It is called space-time for a reason. You have to have both. Those of you who know anything about physics, I don't know hardly anything, but I know that much. Space-time is a unit. And space-time is 3-dimensional, and those 3 dimensions are the present, the past, and the future. And according to my ancestors, which were Norse, they believed, the pre-Christian Norse believed that everything in the universe was woven into life force energy web, which they called the web of weird. Weird, W-I-R-D. It's the same word we use today. The reason why we still use it is because the church, the Roman Empire, was unable to destroy that in our understanding. It was so firmly ingrained within us. So back 2,000 years ago, when something happened that seemed supernatural, we would say that's weird. Not like that's strange, but that's the weaving of space-time. And so we saw that things would appear and disappear, and we would call it weird because we knew that everything in the universe, spirits, rocks, people, thoughts, ideas, time, the earth, everything was weird, was woven. Weird literally means that which has been woven into existence. So this is what the matrix is. It's a life force energy web that creates time and space, within which we live. You cannot live, you know, it's like if you think about a hologram, right? It's a projection. It's a three-dimensional projection. And that image cannot exist outside of that hologram. We live in a holographic projection. Science, physics has come to this conclusion that everything is literally like, you know, when they really look at what the universe is, they realize that it's like a screen. That's the best way they can describe it. It's like a screen where things are projected onto it. You know, everything is that. It's a holographic projection within which we are living out. If you want to call it a program, if you want to call it virtual reality, we are living in this virtual reality that we call life. So this web of life force energy, because it is created and consisted of life force energy, and everything within it is made up of life force energy, again, like that holographic projection, everything in that holographic projection is made of light. Even the light inside of the light is made of light. Everything is made of light. In our this projection, within this matrix, everything is made up of life force energy. And that life force energy has consciousness. That's the other thing you need to understand, is that everything in the universe has consciousness. People are asking me questions a lot, like, you know, are there just agents? You know, are there some people out there that are just agents, meaning that they're just computer programs and they don't have any consciousness? Are there just entities, or they're zombies? There's a reason why these movies and television shows are so popular. Movies about zombies. What are zombies? You know, when you think about it, zombies don't have any life, they don't have any feelings. They're just these things that come at you, and no matter how much you chop them up or smash them, they just keep coming. You know how there's like a whole series of it. It's in the what is the latest the Game of Thrones. You know, the army of the dead are basically zombies. That's where we are so afraid of things that don't have life to them, that will come and attack us and destroy us and kill us, and then make us part of the undead. There's a reason why we have all these fears. People are asking me that, but the answer is no. There is nothing in the universe that does not have consciousness. Everything has consciousness. Even my glasses. It's a different kind of consciousness than me, but it is created with intent, and it has consciousness. And it will respond to my thoughts and my intents. So the web of life force energy, the matrix, weird, it consists of life force energy and has conscious awareness. It's not the same consciousness as you and I, but you can interact with it, and it does have a relationship with you, and it does respond to you. And that's important to know. The main relationship between you and the matrix is that the matrix responds to you. The reason why I keep telling you and hammering away at this basic understanding, this foundational understanding, is that if you do not correctly understand what the universe is and how it operates, then you will continue to force the matrix to respond to you in ways that will be challenging and difficult for you. So we're talking about controlling the matrix. And I can tell you that the matrix doesn't have an agenda. There's one thing that's different. You may think that I'm starting to sound like The Secret, but there's one difference in that The Secret says that the universe responds to your focus. Whatever it is you focus, that's what you get. That is only partially true. Because I'm sure many of you who have tried it like I did, So I'm going to have $1 million. I'm going to have $1 million, $1 million, $1 million, and $1 million never shows up. But all kinds of other crazy things show up, and all kinds of chaos shows up, and you know you were thinking about it, you were afraid of it, and the thing you're afraid of shows up. So we can see that there is some kind of relationship where the matrix responds to some of our intentions, some of our emotions, and some of our focuses, but not all of them. Why is that? We're going to get into that because the short answer is the way to get the matrix to respond to everything that you focus on is if you focus on your deepest soul program. You have a program within your soul that you put in your soul before you were incarnated. The matrix is designed to respond to all of your negativity and your fear and to manifest it so that you'll stop doing that. It's set up to do that so that you will get tired of being afraid. And when it's more important for you to live and enjoy life than it is to avoid fear, then you will overcome your fear. But as long as you think that you are immortal and that you'll never die, then you're going to constantly be trying to play it safe. And whenever you play it safe, the universe will manifest many, if not all, of your negative fears that you're focusing on. So to focus on, I want $1 million, I want a big house, I want 100 wives, or whatever it is, that's operating from that fear-based place in your mind which says, I'm not going to get everything that I want. But if you operate from your integrity, from your truth, from your soul program, you'll find out that you really don't give a crap about having $1 million in a house. You're going to care about doing things and experiencing things that bring you joy and happiness. So when you operate from that perspective and you're fearless about having as much fun as you can, the universe provides you. The matrix responds to that and gives you what you want. The last thing I'll say about how you need to understand your relationship to the matrix is that the matrix, being life force energy and having consciousness, does not know that you don't know your God. It thinks that you already know that you're God. It thinks that you know all of these things that I'm saying. And so that's why people who live their lives as victims and continue to create victim patterns in their lives, they don't realize that they are the ones that are sending that command. Every time that you go and watch videos about conspiracy theories, whether it's about the government, aliens, demons, archons, reptilians, whenever you watch those and you get into all of that and you get into all of that fear, you are sending commands to the life force energy of the matrix to create that. That's why I don't do that. I mean, there are very few things that I talk about in terms of conspiracies. But the only reason I do that is so that you can own up to your power, not so that you can look to escape. Because there's nothing to escape except your own feelings of fear and insecurity. And I'm not judging you for having them. We all have them. This is part of the game that you've created. You've created a game, and the rules of the game are that you forget that you're infinite so that you will have fun. You'll forget that you're infinite so you'll remember what's important. And what's important is to be in your fulfillment, in your integrity of your soul. That's what's most important. When you do that, then the rules of the game are designed to give you everything that you want, what you truly want. We're going to talk more about that, but that's the basic idea. The matrix, foundational understanding is that the matrix is here to help you. The matrix thinks you're God. The matrix is made of life force energy. You create that life force energy. You've created everything around you. And you have chosen to live in this limited meat bag that we call a human body and have this virtual game in the Matrix so that you can remember that you're God. And you will have as many lifetimes as you need to have in order to wake up and remember that. Remember what I said last time. Those who want to escape are doomed to stay. The ones that are having fun and can stay or go, either way, those are the ones that get to leave. So if you really want to leave the Matrix, you've got to learn to have as much fun as possible, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. So that's the first step. The first step is knowledge. Let's take a look again at what the 5 ways are of controlling the Matrix. I'll check and see if there's any questions, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so we do have a few questions. I'll go ahead and answer those. Some of them are good. I'll tell you before I even get into it, I can probably tell you that all of your questions can be answered by watching my videos. I'm sure that I've answered whatever your question is in many of my videos. Please go and watch them. Anyway, so let me see. What do we have in terms of questions? Do you have any recommendations for more info on weirding or the weird? It's not the weird, it's just weird. Yes, watch my videos. Everything I teach is about weird. My books talk about weird. I would recommend coming to me if you want to find out what weird is. So yes, I do have recommendations. Read my stuff, watch my videos, get my DVDs. Laura I, welcome back, she says, how do I realize my original program or soul mission for certain, please? So first, Laura, I need to address right now in this moment, I need you to just be with yourself and tap into any feelings that you have. I especially want you to become conscious of fear and insecurity. I'm not judging you. Those are real feelings. I want you to feel them. Okay? Those feelings of fear and insecurity, I want you to, I'm not trying to tell you to get rid of those feelings or pretend they're not there. But I want you to know that your question is coming from that. Because the way to know what your original program is to know what makes you happy. Not what makes anybody else happy, not what anybody else wants you to do, because that's the biggest problem. Most human beings get confused between what other people expect of them and what they really want. People also get very wrapped up in what they're supposed to be for other people. Even if they're living by themselves in the woods, they have this idea of what a good person is, and if I'm a good person, I'll do this. You know, if I'm a real man or if I'm a good woman. And all of those ideas are nonsense if they don't bring you joy. So if, like many people, you have difficulty being able to answer the question, what is it that gives me joy, then that's why people like me are here. I can help you answer that question in one session. Go on and get a Vedic astrological reading from me even if you don't want a reading. I will tell you. I know what questions to ask you, and I will help you find out if you don't know. Otherwise, get my book. Let's see, I've got 2 books, but the one in particular that I'm most happy with about this is called The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. It looks like this. You won't be able to read the title, but this is what the book looks like. Only costs a few dollars. You can go on to Amazon and look under me or go to michaelwilliamdenny.com. You can find it there. That is the best way to answer your question. Okay, let's see. What else do we have? What other what other questions do we have here? Let's keep going. Tonsi Castellan. Okay, so I don't see a question in there, and so let me once again let you guys know how to best interact with me. I'm here to answer your questions. You can, I can't stop anybody from posting their opinions or whatever, but that's not what this is. This is not a discussion where we all just free float our ideas. I am here to answer your questions so that I can best help you. So I don't see a question in there, so I'm not going to respond to that. Travis Cup, again, I don't see a question. You know, another thing that happened, I think last time I did this, is that, I don't know who it was, but, you know, the other thing is that if you put up a statement and I don't agree, I may kind of forcefully pick it apart, and some people get their feelings hurt. And then I think I did that, and one person started going off on me, and I don't remember what it was, but that's what it looked like. And so if what I say angers you, that's good, because it means you're meant to become a teacher. So instead of spending your time arguing with me about I'm right and you're wrong, or you're wrong and I'm right, go teach. That's what one of the, I'm giving you guys a really beneficial clue. Whenever you're angry at somebody, whenever you want to pick somebody apart, it means you want to be them, or you want to be in their position. And it means that you are meant to be in their position. You are meant to be a teacher. I've spent my whole life with teachers whom I picked them apart. Some I still work with, a couple of them, but most of them I decided that I knew more than they did at some point, or that I've learned everything I can learn, and then I went off and taught. So if what I'm saying, if you think that I don't know what I'm talking about, that means that you're supposed to teach. Okay? So you can do that with anything. I did that when there was a point in time when I did stand-up comedy for a while, and so I went to this was 30 years ago, and I went to the Improv, and I watched these big-name comics, and I thought to myself, I can do better than them, and I said, wait a second. If I think I can do better than them, I have to prove it to myself. So I went out and I started doing stand-up. That's because I was meant to do that at that time. So things that make you angry, people who you feel that you want to compete with, that you don't like, you want to chop them down, it means that you're meant to go do what they're doing. So stop competing with them and go do it. Okay? All right. All right, what else here? Lauren Liu, do you have any videos on loneliness and lack of friends? I don't have anything specifically on that, but the book, The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life, will address that. That means that that's something that you want, and that will teach you how to manifest that. So that will be answered in that same technique in that same book. The further I clear my subconscious mind and discover more truths, the less I relate to those around me. So I have kind of a dual response to that. One is I can understand that there was a point in time, and still, you know, there's a reason why I live alone. You know, I don't want everybody's nonsense all around me, but part of it is because I'm created that way. And it is true that there are times when you do get more consciousness. I'm more interested in your unconscious mind than your subconscious mind, by the way. But when you get your unconscious mind more clear, there may be a time when you don't need other people. But if you need to get away from people because people make you uncomfortable, that could signify something else. That may not necessarily mean spiritual growth. That may mean that there's some unconscious issues surrounding your relationships and codependence and stuff like that, which I'm going to talk about, which may need to be cleared up. So in terms of loneliness and lack of friends, see, that's two different things. Wanting to be alone is not the same as being lonely. When you want to be alone and you don't need other people, then you have an abundance of connection to yourself and to the universe. But if you're lonely and you feel like you need people, and I'm not judging that, I do. I couldn't live in the, I lived in the forest. I lived by myself 20 miles away from other people. I was the last cabin on the dirt road that had electricity, and I had to get at, I had to get my internet through a satellite dish. There was, the only thing that was around me was grizzly bears and moose. and bald eagles and all that. And it was too lonely for me. I needed people. So there's nothing wrong with needing people. But anyway, we'll talk about it as I go deeper into this. You can apply this question and see if some of the things I say apply to you or not. All right. Tell us a joke. If I feel like it. I don't feel like it at the moment. Are you familiar with the YouTube channel Quartz Crystal? I'm not. I think I've seen it a couple times, but I'm not familiar with it. So I can't answer your question on her thing. Romneon Germany asks, what woke you up and how did it all start? I want to answer that as quickly as possible because there's a lot of things to talk about. What woke me up was about, let's see, what is it, 2017? It was 5 years ago. I remember the moment. And it's not going to be what you think. I didn't have an epiphany or a flash of light because I was meditating and I went super far and I blah, 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 and I achieved the light body. All of that stuff, I've done all that stuff, and that didn't wake me up. What woke me up was that I was 49 years old and I was living in what I thought I wanted. I had this giant 2-story house on a half-acre with trees, and I had a studio in my home, and I had all the stuff. And I was physically in a lot of pain. I had knee pain, I had joint pain, I had back pain, I had all kinds of other things. Doctors were telling me that I was just had age-related stuff, from micro tears from martial arts and other things, and too much hiking, and you're just going to have to take pain pills for the rest of your life, which I didn't, but they were trying to prescribe me pain pills. And I was at 49 years of age, and I was thinking to myself, well, I guess this is my life. And then I got mad. And I said, wait a second. I woke up and I said, wait a second. I am way too young to be feeling like this. I refuse to be unhappy from this moment on. And then I went through all the things that I knew in that moment. I realized that all the stuff meant nothing. I wasn't happy. There were 2 things in my life that made me happy. And that was surfing and hiking in the mountains, in the wilderness, specifically in the mountains. And I realized that everything else in my life was totally secondary to those 2 things. And I was living in Boise, Idaho, and I could only do one of those things. I couldn't do the other. And I was in a relationship with a woman, and I was trying to live my life for her, and I was not making her happy, and I was miserable. I was married to her. So the moment I woke up is when I had that flash of anger, when I decided that even though I knew it was impossible, which of course it wasn't, but in that moment it was impossible for me to have the physical ability to surf and to hike. And I said, I'm going to do those 2 things, and and I don't know how I'm going to heal myself of all of these so-called incurable diseases, but I'm going to be free of all of it, and I'm going to do it, and I made the decision. Now, nothing happened overnight. I didn't magically get cured. I had to go through all kinds of stuff. My relationship with my ex-wife then fell apart, not by my doing. She just basically pushed me out. And I was forced then. I had no money. I had no anything. I had all my business and everything was wrapped up in my home. I had nothing. With no money, I moved to the mountains of Southern California, and I started driving to go surfing and hiking in the mountains. And within a matter of a few months, not only was I completely free of all disease, but my business and money started coming to me. And I realized then I could do anything I wanted. And here I am 4 years later. I'm almost 54 years old. I still keep getting physically stronger. Stronger and stronger and stronger. I'm out there. I was just out there today. Not big waves, but I was out there surfing today. I'm out there going in the gym and lifting like a 25-year-old Olympic athlete. I'm not bragging. Anybody can have this if they want it. That's what woke me up. All right, so let's keep going. All right, so okay, again, yeah, I'm looking for the questions. Tansi Castellan asks, can you do EFT tapping to escape from the matrix? That in itself isn't going to help you escape. Watch my videos about it, what the matrix is and escaping the matrix. Nothing wrong with EFT tapping. It's a great way to get in touch with your feelings. It's a great method. I've done it, and I think it's a great thing to do. What's the difference between subconscious and unconscious? I talk about that. Watch my videos about the 3 selves. Again, if you're new to my channel, don't be dependent upon these live Q&As. You know, you guys are going to have to put effort into this. I know it takes effort to actually go to my YouTube channel and to look through the videos and spend time and search for things and watch them. So do that. That will show you. I talk about the 3 selves. So go look for that. That will tell you what the difference is between the subconscious and the unconscious. Okay, thank you. My wake-up call is inspiring to Ramneon. Thank you, sir. Okay, great. So let's move on. So now we're on to number 2. Let's take a look. I'm going to give you the list again, do a little business while I put my thoughts together for number 2. So here's the list. Okay, so number 2 is stay in the present. So let's go back over and talk about what the matrix is. Since this is live, a lot of people have probably come in maybe towards the end of number 1, which is again knowledge. What is the matrix? So what is the matrix? The matrix is made up of this. These are the 3 Norns, the 3 goddesses of space-time. They're literally the 3 forces, the most powerful forces in the entire universe. Everything is subordinate to these 3 forces except for me and you. Everything other than human beings, including the gods, are subordinate to these 3 forces. That is a representation of the 3 Norns, the 3 giantesses. These giantesses, their names are Origins, Coming into Being, and Debt. They represent, respectively, past, present, and future. But you have to understand that the past and the future do not exist. They never have exist, they never will exist. The past and the future are the creations of the present moment. In the present moment, which never ends and always is, in the present moment, whenever you have an attachment, when you feel strongly about something that you relate to your existence or your survival, you then create a pattern in origins, which is the past. You create something in the past. That something, that pattern that you've created in the past, creates a debt which must be paid for. That is the future. You are living out right now a debt that you've created in the past at some time, in some other present moment. You're living it out. You think it's the present moment, but in reality, it's a It's a reality that was created the moment that you had some feelings and attachments, and it's like it feels like you walk into it. You walk into this new thing. But it's a creation of the present moment. Okay, so you have to understand that. So number 2 is you have to stay in the present moment. You have to make it a lifestyle to continuously stay in the present moment. The easiest way, this is one of the reasons that I surf, the easiest way to stay in the present moment is to have fun. You know, I mean, I'm a meditator. I meditate all the time. And so I'm a big fan of, you know, people meditating to stay in the present moment. That's one technique, is to meditate and empty your mind and all that stuff. That's not my favorite technique, by the way. There are thousands of methods of meditation. Zen meditation of emptying your mind is one of hundreds of thousands of methods of meditation. If that doesn't work for you, then there are plenty of others that will. But staying in the present moment, the easiest way to do that is to have fun. Because when you're having fun, you're not thinking about the past or the future. You're in the present moment. This is one of the reasons why people like sex so much. It's because it's one of the few things that forces you to be in the present moment. You've ever tried that? If you're worried or if you're regretting, you can't perform. You have to be completely in the present moment to fully enjoy it. That's one example. But that's the key. The first thing is to stay in the present moment. I'm not saying that you should do anything that's going to, you know, it's going to take so much of your energy and attention that you can't function. You know, addiction is not, it's one of the reasons that people get addicted, is they're trying to stay in the present moment because they're trying to escape their feelings. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm actually talking about the opposite. Staying in the present moment means to feel all of your feelings, but take actions based on your intent. This is another big thing that human beings have a problem with. A lot of human beings are they are reacting to their feelings, trying to get rid of them if they're uncomfortable. But the ideal situation, and again, this is what meditation does, even this empty meditation, because as a thought comes up, you look at it and you don't react to it. And then you train yourself to have a thought or a feeling and not have to react on it. Most people are a slave to their reactions. So staying in the present moment is a lifestyle choice. It's a muscle. You got to build it up. You got to flex it, and you got to get it strong. And so that's what I did earlier with, I forget my sister's name. I forget her name. But I told her to be in the moment and feel her feelings, and to get in touch with any fear-based feelings that she had. So it's okay to have your negative feelings. Stay in the present moment and feel them. Because emotions are life force energy. So stop escaping your feelings. Be aware of things that you do. Do you eat food in order to get out of your feelings? Do you drink alcohol? Do you smoke cigarettes? Do you take drugs? Do you indulge in anger? Do you look at other people and badmouth them? Do you have resentments about who did what to you? This is why, again, spending time looking at those all those videos and all those television shows and all those news channels and all of the the radio shows that get you into these conspiracy theory craziness, all of that craziness and fear and anger and I'm going to show them, all of that stuff takes you out of the moment. Because you're thinking about what's going to happen. You're in your reptilian brainstem. We're going to talk about that in step number 3. So that's step number 2. Constantly stay in the present. The easiest way to stay in the present is to have fun. You know, there are the other things that I talked about you can do, you know, analyzing yourself and, you know, emptiness meditation and many, many other things. Qigong, that's why I teach Qigong. You can't do Qigong properly if you're not in the present moment. Energy work. You can't do it if you're not in the present moment. But the easiest thing to do is to have fun. So I'll tell you one thing that to take away from this is, think of the one thing that makes you happy. One thing that just that is fun, really truly fun for you. And first ask yourself, do you do it? Have you stopped doing it? I did. I moved to Idaho and I married a woman that was not in alignment with me, and I stopped doing the things that were fun. So ask yourself, what is the thing that I do that's fun for me, and am I doing it, or do I need to start doing it again? And start doing that. That is probably the best one of all of them. Okay, so that is number 2, stay in the present. I'm going to do some business and check to see if there are any questions. Okay, so now we're going to go on to number 3. I didn't see any questions there. I think there was one question that I may respond to before I get into it, but let's take a look at, again, where are we at? We're at number 3. So what is number 3? Okay, so Tansi's, I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, but Tansi's question was about David Icke's book. So let me just tell you, listen, I'm not big on bashing other people, but I do not subscribe to any of David Icke's understandings. Which isn't to say that there isn't some truths to the things that he teaches, but it is such a fear-based thing. Look, a lot of that stuff is created. I talked about this last time about, you know, the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki come from Mesopotamian mythology. And what he has done and other people have done is taken that completely out of context and, you know, imposed a bunch of interpretations on it that just aren't there. When you read the Mesopotamian mythology in context, it is no different from Vedic mythology, Hindu mythology, Norse mythology. It's all saying the same things, and it's not talking about that. That is coming out of fear-based stuff. So all that stuff about, you know, the Saturn moon matrix, and that there are these archons that are trying to trap you in this two-dimensional flat earth and suck the life force out of you and keep you reincarnating so that they can suck the life force out of you. All of that comes from fear. Because remember that the basic understanding is that you are God and that the matrix serves you. And if you believe that you are limited, if you believe that you are controlled, if you believe that God hates you and wants to destroy you, if you believe that you are trapped in sin, if you believe any of those things, the matrix responds to that as a command and will keep you there. Until, like me, you get mad and you decide, you know what, I do deserve to be happy, I do deserve to have infinity, I am not going to go to hell and die and burn, nobody's keeping me hostage, I can do whatever I want in life. Until you get angry, I got angry. Until you get to that place where you have that experience, then you'll stay trapped. So there's no secret gate at the North Pole or the South Pole. You know, if you really believe that, then go get the money and travel to the North Pole and see if you can find it. It's not there. It's here. Everything is here. Everything you need is here, inside of you. My job is to help you realize that. Okay, so it wasn't really a question, but I want to answer that. So let's get on to number 3, which is, what did I say number 3 was? I said to focus on joy. So this is a good introduction to focus on joy, because joy, I'm not talking about titillation again, like, you know, shooting yourself in the neck with cocaine and calling that joy. That's not what I mean. Joy is the thing that truly gives you happiness and joy. For me, surfing, hiking in the mountains, just to name 2 things. Those things give me joy. Doing what I'm doing right now gives me joy. I enjoy this. Focusing on joy keeps you connected to that inborn program. Somebody asked that earlier. How do I know what my inborn program is? It's your joy, the thing or things that truly make you happy. So now I want to talk to you about how to focus on joy. In order to understand that, we have to talk about the reptilian brainstem. So let's talk about reptilians. I made a few videos on reptilians. Truth of the matter is I was trying to get clickbait so people could watch my channel. I have had experience with reptilians. They do exist, but they are creations of your reptilian brainstem. So if you see a reptilian walking around, it's a projection from inside of you, even if it's real and it has its own life. You know, there's I wish I can remember the guy's name. The Way of the Shaman is the name of the book. Michael Harner, The Way of the Shaman, the guy who really brought shamanism to modern Western society. And he talks about how he, I believe, took ayahuasca. I think it was ayahuasca. And he had a vision. And in his vision, he felt himself, and he labels it very clearly. He felt himself descend into his reptilian brainstem. He talks about how he went past all these other layers and went directly into his reptilian brainstem, and then he was in a completely different world where there were all of these flying reptilian bat creature things that told him that they had created the world and that human beings were their creations, and that they controlled everything, and that eventually, you know, I forget whatever else, was very frightening for him, and he knew that he was about to die. This is one of the things he knew. When he was in his reptilian brainstem, he could feel that he was going to die. And then he was able to communicate something so that people could give him an antidote and pull him out of it. But when it was all over with, he went to the Master Shaman and he told him about the reptilians, and he said that they control this world. And the shaman laughed and he goes, "They always say that." So anybody who is touting reptilian theories is trapped in their reptilian brainstem. And you will not achieve mastery. You will not escape the matrix if you are trapped in your reptilian brainstem. And so there are 2 ways in which human beings respond when they are in that reptilian brainstem. First off, your frontal cortex and your ability to think clearly is gone. And I am telling you that at least half of the population is living in their reptilian brainstem, at least part of the time. They cannot think clearly. They cannot, even if you give them truths, evidence, you know, anything rational, they can't process it. They will always interpret everything based on their fear-based emotions. Anger, fear, greed, you know, all that separation, all that stuff is coming from here. So all the stuff you hear about reptilians are true as long as you're living here. So if you don't ever want to see a reptilian again, learn how to evolve beyond that. Now, we have to have our reptilian brainstem or we wouldn't be able to function. Because if I'm out in the wilderness and if I one day decide to go and hike, the Alaskan wilderness, and a grizzly bear starts running towards me, my reptilian brainstem is going to tell me to run, and I better listen. So it has a function. But there are two ways in which we operate from the reptilian brainstem. One is fight or flight. Now I'm talking generally here. Everybody is unique. Everybody is an individual, so just remember that. If it doesn't apply to you personally, just know that this is general. Generally speaking, men operate from the fight or flight. The feminine energy operates from another set, from the reptilian brainstem. A lot of you aren't even going to realize that what I'm saying, you may be doing this and not knowing you're operating from fear. Because the other one is called tend or befriend. So you have fight or flight, which is typically the masculine response, or you have tend or befriend. And that means, if we go back to caveman times, if there was a fight with another tribe or if there were monsters coming out of whatever, the men pick up their spears and they either fight or they run away. The women grab the children and they take care of the children. And if there are, enemy people out there, they go and make friends with them. They're the peacemakers. And there are a lot of people, both men and women, who operate from tend or befriend. I call them people pleasers. I can't stand being around people pleasers, and this is why. I felt guilty about this for so many years, but now I realize it's because they're operating from fear. They have a smile on their face, hi, how are you? And they want to make everybody happy, love and light, everything is love and light, la 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 la. That's not coming from an honest desire to make friends or to connect. It's coming from fear. It means that you're uncomfortable. You want to make sure that the other person's not a threat. You want to make sure that you neutralize the threat. You neutralize the anger and the tension, the competition. That is coming from fear. So ask yourself, guys, it's easy to see guys who operate from fight or flight. They're walking around, they have their guns, they want to go shooting, they want to go beat everybody up. They're constantly angry, they can't talk right now, I've got to deal with business. They're emotionally distant, they're in fight or flight. And then you have people who want to constantly make friends and go up and kiss your rear end and get into your business, and it's like, can you leave me alone for a second? Stay out of my boundaries. You're all into my boundaries. They need to be loved, and do you like me? And I just need people to like me, and do you respect me? And what can I do to get you to approve of me? That's coming from tend or befriend, the reptilian brainstem. It's coming from fear. So again, number 3 is about joy. The way to live in joy is when you are in your integrity. So when I'm going to talk about when I use the word integrity, I mean you're in a place where you are empowered within yourself, where you do not need anything from anybody to make you feel fulfilled, comfortable, safe, and at the same time you don't need to fight or flight, push people away. You don't need to run away from people because they upset you or bother you or make you uncomfortable. You are in your integrity. You're not acting in order to get something from somebody. You're not acting in order to push people away. Here's the thing about predators. People who take advantage of you, predators. Predators look for easy prey. They do not go after difficult prey. Wolves, when they're chasing after a herd of elk or whatever, they look for the young or the sick. And they weed out the sick. That's one of the things that wolves do. That's why, it's good to have wolves in the environment, Because if you don't, then you end up creating a population of elk or whatever it is where there is sickness or disease or mutations that don't make them stronger. And then, you know, you end up not being able to survive well. So the wolves keep the elk strong because they go after the weak and the sick and the old. So predators in your life, if you have people who are coming after you and who take advantage of you, it's because they see the weakness in you. Psychic vampires, people talk about, how do I protect myself from psychic vampires? Well, first and foremost, you do celestial qigong. You can do, or you can go onto my YouTube channel and do any of the qigong practices that are there. Do the qigong practices that are there. That will empower your aura, and people, you know, you'll be less likely to have people get inside of your aura and suck your energy or take advantage of you. They'll sense your strength and they'll leave you alone. You will attract a higher vibration of people who will want to be around you. Do qigong, do energy work. Being in your integrity means that you make choices, continuously making choices. I know that because I recently stepped out of my integrity. I talked about it a little bit. I won't go into detail, but I made some choices where I acted out of my fear and my insecurity and my feeling of lack, and I stepped out of my integrity and I made choices, and I ended up paying a price for that. And I dodged a huge bullet, and I did some of the stuff I'm teaching you now to make sure that things went better, and they did. So living in your integrity. Before I go any further, I want to answer a question that was asked by somebody. Before I do that, I'm going to do some business. I'm going to turn the lights on, and I'm going to answer a question about this, about how to go back into time and relive moments where you change, where you stepped out of your integrity and you created a debt in the future that you now find challenging. I'm going to talk to you exactly how to do that. So, but while I'm getting prepared, I'm going to do some business here. Okay, so now I'm going to answer a question that was asked. There's a, on the last Q&A that I did, or the second to last Q&A that I did, called Weird Magic, Power to Change Past Trauma. Voice over talent for you. I don't know if she's watching, but she asked this question. She asked, I do have one question in regards to changing past. Can you change meeting someone and choose to not have ever met them to change your future? And she goes on to explain, I met someone who was very negative to me and my children. So that's a good question, right? That makes sense. You want to go back and change your past. You met somebody that was hurtful to you, and you want to go back and erase having met them so that you never have to have experienced the negativity. Well, the problem with that question, so the short answer is no. That you cannot do. And the reason is that you are asking that question again out of fear. You're asking that question based on a feeling of being a victim. You feel that that person victimized you and you were powerless to stop it. And you wish that you could get them out of your life because you are powerless to protect yourself, or you were powerless to protect yourself from them, and look at the damage they've done. The truth of the matter is you were probably in tend or befriend, and you were seeking. You have to be honest with yourselves, people. You do not have victimizers in your life. Of course, I'm not talking about little children. That's different. That's a whole past life thing. I won't get into that. But if you're an adult or you're even, you know, a teenager, you do not have victimizers in your life. I'm not, let me go past teenagers. If you're an adult, and you have somebody who comes into your life who takes advantage of you and hurts you and victimizes you, you wanted something from them. You were not in your integrity, or you would not have let them in your life. Give you an example. I'm lonely, I just need somebody. I'm just giving you an example. I'm not talking about anybody in particular, but somebody says that they're lonely and they just want somebody in their life, and here comes along somebody. Or I'm broke, and this happens a lot. If I just had enough money, this guy's coming into my life and he wants to date me, and he's going to pay for me to do this, and I'm going to move him and my kids into his house, and then all of a sudden you find out that he's abusive or he's a womanizer or whatever it is, and then, oh, look how horrible, look what he did to me. But you're forgetting when you walked out of your own integrity. And your own integrity says, when you're in your integrity, you are saying, even in situations where you don't know how you're going to get your ends meet, you know, get money or food or clothing or whatever, even in that moment, if you're in your integrity, you have the ability to say within yourself, I am going to be able to intend whatever I need, and the universe will provide me what I need. I'm going to remind myself of what makes me happy, and I'm going to go do that. And as I'm going to do that, the universe will provide me with what I need. I'm going to step out, and I'm just going to take that risk, and the universe will provide. That's, again, this is important to understand. People say, well, you know, Mike, I want to do the things that make me happy, but first I have to make money. Doesn't work like, when I have enough money, then I'll go do what I want. It doesn't work like that. The universe provides money to you when you are in your integrity, when you are following your joy, taking steps to follow your joy. Against all of the odds, the universe provides you what you need. If you have to step out of that in order to try and get money because you're afraid you won't be able to eat or all that kind of stuff, then you're out of your integrity and you're a victim. You are a target, and somebody can take advantage of you. So I don't know this person, but I'm absolutely convinced, I could be wrong, but I feel very certain that if I ask her enough questions and I find out what happened in that moment when she met him and decided to bring him into her life and her children's lives, I absolutely feel confident that there would have been a time when she was acting out of fear or out of a desire that she doesn't have enough, or that she needs something or somebody in order to be complete. Let me give you an example. The woman I'm with now, the love of my life, I've been with her for 2 years. I have not met her children. She has 2 children from a previous marriage. I haven't met, well, that's not true. I've met them once, but they didn't know that I was her boyfriend. And we've chosen to do that because, you know, all kinds of reasons, but one of the things is that she has very strong boundaries for her kids. And I absolutely support that. I personally don't have a need to raise kids. You know, if we chose to do that, that would be one thing, but I don't have a need to do that. I'm not afraid of it, but I don't need to do it. And they're better off right now having a relationship with their mom and with their dad. They're at that age where they need that, we think. And we've decided to hold off on that for the time being. So she's very different from a lot of single parents, both men and women, who say, oh, I've got these kids and I need some, will you come and help me raise my kids with me? And that's coming out of a state, you're out of your integrity, you're in fear, and then that attracts people who can abuse you or take advantage of you or not give you what you need. So that's an example. So what do? Here is how you, let me see, where are we at? Yeah, we're enjoying now. So now we're going to move to number 4. So number 4 is how to realign yourself in the past in your integrity. And when you do that, then you don't have to get rid of somebody that you met. That you can't do. but you can change the moment where you stepped out of your integrity, which set up this scenario for you to be hurt by somebody. That I'm going to teach you how to change and how to fix. And by the way, when you fix that in the past, of course it'll change the future, which means nobody will ever do it to you again. So if you ever want to, if that's a challenge for you, I don't care if it's money, people, health, and you want to avoid having those things happen again in the future, I'm going to teach you how to first go in the past, realign yourself, and then you will automatically create a different future. Okay? So I'm going to put up again the 5 ways to control the matrix, and then while I'm doing that, I'm going to see if there's any questions, and I'll answer any questions that you might have. Okay, my apologies, there were a lot of questions. So again, those of you who are on this, I tend to scroll through the statements. If you're just putting a statement out there, or if you guys are talking amongst each other, that's fine, but just bear in mind that I scroll right past them. I'm looking for question marks because I want to answer questions. You know, if you have a lot of opinions, that's fine, but again, I'm here to answer questions. So just know that. I'm not going to respond to that. So let's see here. Thorkel the Tall says, yo, what inspired you to bring up time travel? Odd timing. I don't know what's odd about it. I had every intention of talking about time travel. What inspired me to talk about time travel is because that is how, one of the ways that we control the matrix. But understand that time travel is not jumping outside of your body in a shamanic state. You can do it, but you can time travel right now, because there is, again, if you're asking this question, I'm assuming you're coming in at some point late. You may not have been watching from the very beginning. Go back and watch from the beginning. Go back and watch Weird, the movie, the video I did about Weird. Weird is all about space-time. So you cannot control the matrix if you do not also have access to controlling space-time. We live in the present moment. Again, here's how it works. There is only the present moment. In the present moment, you have thoughts, actions, intentions, beliefs. You take actions, whatever, and that creates a pattern which immediately gets lodged in what we call the past. That pattern that is lodged in the past then sets up a future debt that we have to pay off. That's the name of Weird. Weird is origins, ever-present moment, debt. Past, present, and future. The origins of the future are what we call the past, but the past is created in the present. There's the present, past, the future, in that order. So this is everything. What I'm talking about is going back in time to change a moment where something happened. In this case, the question is, she met somebody that ended up causing her and her children harm, and she wants to know, can she go back in time and erase when she met him so that she can erase the pain? No, you can't do that, but you can go back, relive the moment when you stepped out of your integrity, which means that you acted out of either fight or flight or tend or befriend, which means that you were not in a place where you believed the universe would take care of you, and you were not acting out of what is going to give me joy. You acted, well, what do I need? What am I afraid of? Not what gives me joy, because when you meet somebody, you know, we project. This is what's called projection. We fall in love with people who turn out to be horrible. It's because we're projecting onto them our fantasy, and we're choosing not to see the signals. Our unconscious mind, we know everything about everybody. So everybody that you've brought into your life, you have chosen. Even though you maybe have felt you were madly in love with them or whatever. I know, I'm not saying anything I haven't done. I've done it myself. Many, many, many times. But when we bring harmful people into our lives, it's because we stepped out of our integrity, we acted out of fear. Either we wanted to get something from them, or we were trying to, whatever it was. So I'm going to teach you how to do that, how to go back into time and change the moment where you stepped out of your integrity and change that, and then relive how that would have unfolded had you stayed in your integrity. Okay, so we'll talk about that. Okay, once again, I'm scrolling through. I'm looking for questions. Okay, no questions yet. Okay, let's see. Again, I'm looking for questions. I'm not seeing any questions. No questions, which is fine. I'm happy to. Here we go. C. Batranu says, what about esoteric implants in us? Well, that's an assumption. You're assuming that that's true. How do you know that's true? Because you read it somewhere, because somebody told it to you, because you feel? I'm not trying to judge you. You feel like they're energetic implants? There are people that say that the chakras are energetic implants. It's ridiculous nonsense. By the way, you can't get rid of your chakras. You can, whatever meditation you do to clear yourself of your chakras is something else, and it may benefit you. You may have this feel like I'm free now, which is fine, but you did something else. You may have cleared something out of your unconscious mind. You may have cleared attachments in your unconscious mind, but you didn't get rid of your chakras. They're still there. They're power sources. They're there to help you. This assumption that there are beings out there who created you is false. You created yourself. The assumption that there are beings out there who have the authority to come and implant things into you without your permission is false. If such a thing were possible, which I don't think it is, don't get me wrong, there are energetic attachments like demons and all that other stuff, but that's a whole different subject. But even then, that cannot happen. For instance, demon possession. I've been an exorcist, for a long time, and I've done exorcisms, and I can tell you that demonic possession does exist. But it never happens without the permission of the person who's possessed. On an unconscious level, because they were in their fear. Most of the time, these are people who survived abuse. And in order to heal from abuse, you must face the pain, the sorrow, and you must forgive your oppressors. If you don't, you create this magnifying anger which you stuff down, and then in order to avoid that pain, you send out unconscious signals for something to come and distract you. And the chaos and the fear that comes from being attacked or haunted by a demon is less painful than the true pain you would feel if you faced the pain and the mourning and the sadness and forgave those who hurt you. That's how people become possessed. So anytime if there's such a thing as energetic implants, it's because there is a contract. You asked for something or somebody to distract you and to cause you chaos so that you wouldn't have to feel the unconscious. Unconscious pain means you are unaware of it. You've pushed it so far down you don't even know it's there. This is disease, by the way. This is cancer, by the way. Unconscious rage. Okay, we can get into that, but that's a whole other subject. So, how about having joy or pleasure in suffering? Sorry, forgive me, Laura. But that sounds ridiculous to me. Does anybody really enjoy that? If that's the case, then again, we're talking about somebody who has pain so deep that even suffering is better than the true pain that they feel. And I'm sorry, but you can't avoid your real feelings. You have to feel them. It's going to be, for some people, healing is going to be very painful. True love. Let me give you an example. Somebody who has never had true love. You've had dysfunctional relationships your whole life, abusive relationships, or relationships that never worked. I can tell you, without even knowing you, without knowing your story, you are afraid of true intimacy. And so instead of attracting a mate that will give you true intimacy, real love, you manifest something less than that so that you never have to take that risk. And I can tell you from personal experience that when you truly attract somebody who really, truly does love you unconditionally, who sees you for who you are and reflects back what is best in you, you will have to mourn, and you will have to go through the pain of not having your mother's love or your father's love or whose ever love taught you what love isn't, that you've been trying to recreate your whole life. Psychologists are right about that. We're looking for our mother and our father. And when we realize that that's not what we want, and we go through the pain and we separate from that, then we open ourselves up to have a real relationship. A true partner is somebody who is a mirror, like Hela, the goddess of the underworld, who will reflect back to you your deepest and most powerful strengths, who will also be able to reflect back to you your emotional and unconscious psychological attachments and hold your hand without judgment while you move past them. And that is far more frightening than being with somebody who abuses you. So what about the joy in suffering? That's to me is total ridiculousness. Nobody enjoys suffering. Unless we're talking about the kind of suffering like going to the gym and lifting weights and pushing yourself past the runner high, the suffering to get something, but then you're operating from your joy. So no, I don't believe that there's joy in suffering. If you believe that, then I submit to you that you may be wanting to run away from what your real pain is. And this is why you need a teacher. This is what teachers are here to help you with. Okay? So if you want my help, I can help you with that. All right. Let's see. Again, without a question, I'm not going to respond to questions. I am going to respond to questions. I'm not going to respond to just statements. Okay, here's some question marks coming up. What are your thoughts on the Reset Harvest event that teachers say is coming up? I feel it may be an Archon agenda. Two things. I don't know what that is. So I can't comment on that, but I'm also, you mentioned Archons. Archons would fall into the category of fear because Archons are those things above us that keep us trapped. There are no such things. Any entity out there, whether it be an angel, whether it be an ascended master or whatever, is equal or less powerful than us. Listen, I'm not as powerful as you are. You summoned me to you. There are no... any archons that are out there are projected from your reptilian brainstem. So you don't have to fear any archon agenda. The only way that anybody can have an agenda to harm you is if you are choosing to be a victim. So I don't believe in archons, the short answer to that question. Watch more of my videos, you'll get an idea of, you know, why I say that and how I say that and all that stuff. When going back in time, should there be any preparation, or is it as simple as thinking of the past event? I'll answer that question. You can do preparation, but you don't have to. I'll share with you how to get there. You get there through your feelings. Can you attract something you believe and feel you can't? I don't understand the question. You'll have to ask it again in a way that I can understand. How can you attract something you don't believe? Good question. You're operating from an assumption. Remember, if you are new to my channel, understand that everything starts from a correct assumption. If you don't have a correct assumption, everything else that you add to it will be meaningless, or at best will be hit and miss. So you are having an assumption that in order to attract something, you have to believe in it, which is a feeling. So what happens with, like all of us who have been programmed by our lives and our society and our parents to be filled with all this fear, how can we choose to attract things that we don't believe we deserve or we don't believe exists? The answer to that question is to make the decision that you will have it regardless of what you believe or don't believe, that you will have it regardless of what you feel or don't feel. If you're new to this particular broadcast, earlier on somebody asked me how I woke up, and I talked about how I made the decision that according to all of the evidence in front of me, I had numerous age-related incurable illnesses that were going to prevent me from doing the things I wanted to do. And I made the decision without knowing how. I made the decision that I deserved to have everything that I want, and I didn't know how I was going to get it, but I was going to get it, and nothing was going to stop me. And that, in and of itself, that moment, like we said, we live in the moment, which creates a past, which creates a future. In that moment, when I said that and meant it, what I was saying in that moment is that what I want is more important than what anybody else wants. And when I believed that, not that I believed it, but when I felt that, then I created something in the past, which then created a future, which I'm living out now. I'm living out the debt of that moment. The debt that I created was that the universe owed me, because I created that debt, the universe owed me a healthy body with no pain, so that I could do all the things that I wanted to do, and I have that. I'm in better health. I'm stronger than I've ever been in my entire life. 54 years of age. So that's how. You choose. I'm going to talk about that. That's the last one. We're going to talk about that. What is my spiritual path? Watch my videos. I can't give you a definition. I don't know what you're looking for. I don't fit into any one particular spiritual path. I have incorporated a lot. If I were to pick one, I'd say my spiritual path is the thunder path. It's what I teach. I'm teaching my path that's been given to me and transmitted to me by not only my life and my experiences, but the ancestral masters who are working with me. The thunder path. What is the meaning of meeting Goddess Hela during a shamanic journey? I don't know the specific. I'd have to talk to you to know the specifics, but the Goddess Hela is the goddess of the underworld, which means your unconscious psychological attachments. So I don't know if it means that you're supposed to worship her. I don't know if it means that she has a message for you, but at the very least, you have somebody that wants to help you master your unconscious. And by the way, if you master your unconscious, you will master everything I'm teaching, because the unconscious mind is the powerhouse of everything. We have three selves. We have the upper self, we have the middle self, and the lower self. The unconscious mind is in the lower self. It's the most powerful, in the navel center. So that's a whole other subject. Go and read, go and watch my videos about the three selves. Let's see. Again, thank you for a lot of, people say good things, bad things, or talk to each other. I'm only looking for the questions, but thank you for all the positive things. April says, what do you think of blood over intent? Well, I've made a couple videos on it. The theory is sound in terms of a blood ritual to bring about heaven on earth. Totally sound. Our ancestors did it. They did it all the time. The assumption underneath it I disagree with, which says that we live on a flat earth and we're being controlled by evil archons who are seeking to keep you trapped in a false matrix so that they can keep you reincarnated, so they can suck your life force energy. I don't believe in any of that. But if you believe that, the universe will provide that for you. But the actual blood sacrifice to get what you want, I'm a big believer in sacrifice and ritual. So in essence, I believe that is powerful. I don't believe in the assumption underneath it. I think that's coming from fear. No, I don't know what the 144,000 is. I don't believe that. I don't know what the law of one harvest is. I can't answer that question. Harvest equals rapture. I don't believe in the rapture. Read this book and watch the videos I've made on this book. This will destroy any beliefs you have about the Odin, excuse me. This will destroy any beliefs you have about the Jehovah deity. And it will expose what Jehovah is. This book. Jehovah exists, and Jehovah is a deity, and Jehovah has power, but Jehovah is nothing more than your narcissistic ego. People who worship Jehovah are worshiping their own ego, which is why Jehovah says, thou shalt have no other gods before me, because it's what you say in your own ego. I'm the most important thing, and blah, blah, blah. It comes out of fear. Jehovah is so afraid of any other deity that he won't allow any other deities to exist, and he'll kill you. He says in the Old Testament, Jehovah says, if you love me, you follow all of my commandments. And then he says, if you do not follow all of my commandments, you hate me. So there's no in between. You either love him or hate him. If you love him and you do everything he says perfectly. Even if you do just 99% of everything he says, then according to Jehovah, you hate him, and he must destroy you. And then he goes through all the ways that he will destroy you. He will burn you alive, put boils on your skin, curse all of your children for 7 generations. The Christian tradition says he'll throw you into hell if you don't believe in his one true son, because even the tiniest sin is so abhorrent to Jehovah that he must throw you in, not destroy you, but put you in eternal punishment. That is Jehovah. If you worship Jehovah, that's what you get. But you don't have to worship Jehovah. You can move beyond your narcissistic ego. You can do it. Fear, if you want to stay in the narcissistic ego, which is the reptilian brainstem, then stay in fear. And Christians do this one good. They do the fear part, where if you don't believe in Jesus, if you don't go to church, if you have any other religious beliefs, if you're if you have any other kind of sexual lifestyle, then you are going to burn in hell. They do the fear part really well, which is fight or flight. They also do the other part, tend or befriend. They go out and they spread the gospel, and they feed the sick. And then, have you ever seen the guys that are outside of the, where I live, outside of what is that? The the grocery store. I forget the name of the grocery store. Outside of the grocery store, there's a guy set up with a table. He says, "Feed the homeless." But what he really is he's working for some church that they want your money, and they'll feed the guys, but they also proselytize. They convert them. These are drug addicts and whatever, and bring them in and feed them, and then force their religion down their throat. That's the tender befriend. That's coming from the fear base in the amygdala, the reptilian brainstem. Okay, so Robert Mugabe asks, so to fast track positive change with you in order of importance, would you say Vedic reading, celestial qigong, etc.? To fast track, yes, I would say the fast track is to get a Vedic astrological reading from me. Go to astrology.thunderwizard.com. Then I would say, this is when we talked about the last one, the five tools. Second thing you need is to have power, which is celestial qigong. So you can go to michaelwilliamdenny.com. No, never mind. You can go to amazon.com and just type in my name, Michael William Denny, and my video Celestial Qigong should come up. Or you can just type in Celestial Qigong and it'll come up. Yes, that is an excellent way to fast track. Gabriel Lawrence says, are you clairaudient? I'm not going to answer that question because of this. We are talking about how to control the matrix. Last time we talked about how to escape the matrix. Things like clairaudience, clairsentience, being able to see auras, being able to levitate, being able to manipulate energy. I have done a lot of those things, and those are tricks that are done inside the matrix. Those tricks will not give you the ability to control the matrix, nor will they give you the ability to achieve your complete awareness, nor will they give you the ability to escape the matrix. They're fun, and they're fun to do if what you want to do is to expand your awareness of this nature of this universe, but they're also traps, because you can get trapped into the illusion that, oh, I'm clairaudient, I must be super spiritual. There are plenty of clairaudient people out there who we can't tell the difference between them and schizophrenics. Some schizophrenics are clairaudient. So I don't have any judgment about having or not having that, but it doesn't ultimately mean anything, and so I ultimately don't care. I hope that answers your question. Romney on Germany, is the Three Selves video the Three Selves of Odin? Yes. In my videos, there's at least the Three Selves of Odin, which I think is a video playlist, but there may be a video about it. But yes, you can find me talking about the Three Selves all in my videos. We'll have to make another video just about the Three Selves because that's a very deep subject. Tansi asks me, can I please make a video about moon control? It's very important to trap in the matrix. Yeah, I'll think about it. It probably won't come out the way you think it will. But yeah, I can do that. If you want me to do something, this is to everybody, keep asking me to do that. Put it in the video comment sections. Will you please make a video about, know that I've got so many ideas in my head and people are asking me to do so many different things. I may or may not get to it, but the squeaky wheel gets my attention. So the more that you ask, and if I see it's important, like I'm talking about the Matrix, because it gets views and people really like it and people keep asking me about it. So I keep doing videos on it. But yeah, keep asking me and I'll look into that. Thank you. April, you don't have to apologize. I'm happy that you're here and that you're new. And yeah, so don't take my my scolding as an attack. You know, everybody has to show up here and be new for some time at first. Okay. April Riddle, do you eat meat? I do not eat red meat, but I do eat fish and I do eat chicken. And I am not one of those people that says you have to be vegetarian in order to escape the matrix. I have nothing against vegetarianism. If I were forced to be a vegetarian, I would be happy to do it. But I would be forced to buy a lot of things like pea protein and hemp protein, because if I don't eat a lot of protein, I'm constantly hungry and I'm not happy. My body wants to be muscular, and so it's constantly asking me to eat protein. Some people are different. My girlfriend is different. She does eat a little bit of flesh, like fish and chicken, but she's one of those, and there are people that really don't need it. Having said that, I do know people who have been vegetarians for 20 and 30 years who became anemic and had to become pescatarians because they needed, there's enzymes that you can't get anywhere except within flesh, and human beings need that. So to answer your question, I don't. I'm sorry if that offends you or upsets you, but yeah. She says I only follow vegan teachers. Then you may need to stop following me, and I respect that choice if that's what you need to do. Okay, let's see. Have you read the Urantia book? No, but I do know a guy who was really into Urantia, and I never really got into it. Personally, when I looked into Urantia, it didn't strike me a little bit like a cult. That's just me. But it wasn't my deal. Okay, so those are all the questions for now. So let me go to number 5. Well, first let me finish number 4. So number 4, I promised I would teach you how to go back into time and change something. I gave you the example that somebody gave. She wanted to go back in time and erase the moment where she met a certain man who ended up causing her and her children pain. And so you can't do that. But what you can do, which will have not only the same effect but better, because what she's saying is this. What she's saying is she doesn't want to live with the pain of the trauma, of the damage that she feels was caused to her. She wants to erase that. She wants to be happy again. She wants the pain, the sadness out. So first thing I have to say is, you know, if we're following step number 2, we have to stay in the present, which means we have to have our feelings. So you can't avoid mourning. You can't avoid pain. We have to heal. And pain is a sign of healing. But we have to make a distinction between pain that is continuously causing us damage or pain that is coming from healing and releasing and letting go. You know, you go to the gym and you lift weights, you know, the next day your muscles hurt, but it's a good pain. So it means you get stronger. So it's the same on the emotional and the spiritual level. There is pain that we have to experience, but that there's good pain and then there's self-destructive pain. So we have to differentiate. But if you are operating from your integrity, you don't have to worry about getting into the bad kind of pain. The only pain you'll experience will be the good kind, and it will be temporary. So basically the bottom line is that she's trying to get out of her pain, and she wants to go back in time and erase an event so that she won't have the pain she's feeling now. So no, she can't do that. But what she can do is this. If she, again, the assumption is that we are not victims. If she is willing to embrace that she attracted this man into her life and chose to bring him into her life on an unconscious level, meaning she wasn't consciously aware of it, but on an unconscious level, she chose to bring him in out of her fear or weakness or insecurity, which is stepping out of your integrity. If she's willing to accept that she did that, then what she can do is she can use her emotions Somebody asked, do you have to do preparations? The preparation that you have to do is to get into the feeling. So if she were here in front of me, I would say to her, okay, tap into the feeling you have about this man. What is his name? John or George or whatever. Okay, now when I say the name George, tell me the feeling that comes up. Talk about the pain. Grab onto that pain. The anger, the pain. If it's anger, go past the anger and go to the pain. Go to the sadness, the disappointment, the rejection. Because it's all about that. It's when we feel rejected. I'll give you an example. You get hit by a car and you get mangled. But you go to the hospital, you're not spending any time being angry at the car. Or you might, because you might get angry at the driver, so let's make it something else. A tornado comes and knocks over a tree, which conks you on the head, and cracks your skull, and you have to go to the hospital. Well, you don't spend any time being angry at the tree or angry at the tornado. But you have to heal. But if somebody else comes along and robs you and steals you and conks you on the head and cracks your head open, then you get angry and you get fearful. And if you really look at it like, physical violence, besides all of the pain that it causes, it's attacking ourselves. Somebody's rejecting you. They're hating on you. And it hurts. It makes you sad. Besides whatever other feelings you have sadness for another human being who should love you. There's no reason why they shouldn't love you. They're connected to you. They're part of you. But for some reason, they hate you and they attack you and they harm you. It's the rejection that hurts. So we have to get past the pain to the rejection. We all want to be loved, all of us. And when people don't love us, it hurts our feelings. Okay? So you have to get to the pain and then follow that pain back to the first moment when you met. And then identify the moment where you stepped out of your integrity. Some part of you have 20/20 vision now. You can look back. Hindsight is 20/20. You can look back and you can see where all the signs that this person was giving you that he was not in alignment with your integrity. And you can go back to the moment when you made the choice to bring him into your life. And then you can decide. You can play it out again in the moment where you said, can I have your number? Or do you want to come over? Or he invited you out and you said yes. Whatever that moment was, you can go back and you can say, for example, no, thank you. Thank you for the invitation, but it's been really great meeting you. I've got to get on a plane. I'm going to go see my husband and my kids. Thank you so much. It was great meeting you. I wish you all the best. And then play out the rest of your life. Let's say the reason why, and I don't know this woman, so I'm only making a false, example. Let's say she had her kids and she didn't have money and she was lonely and she desperately wanted a man to take care of them, so she wanted him in her life. And that was the fuel that kept her going to get deeper and deeper in. From that moment on, she still has that feeling. So the feeling doesn't go away of wanting a guy to come and take care of you. The feeling is still there, but she made the choice to reject him. But she still has the feeling. So now she plays out, instead of taking the choices that harm me, making choices out of fear, I'm going to make choices out of my integrity. I'm going to go apply for that job. Even though I don't have the money, I'm going to do this. I'm going to, and then imagine that the universe gives you the job or gives you the home or gives you the whatever it is you need to be able to take care of your kids, and keep playing that out from your joy. What makes you happy? I wish I had become a hairdresser and I had my own hairdressing salon. Play that out. What does that feel like? You go out, you start to do hair, somebody gives you a loan, you get your own store. I'm getting emotional as I talk about it. You then have money to give to your kids. It builds upon that. Live that fantasy. That's now a future that you've created for your past self that you're living out in your emotions. And then bring it up to the present moment. and then bring it up to the present moment. What would this present moment be like if I had all of those things that I wish I'd done? I'm getting so emotional right now, so I know somebody out there is feeling this. This isn't just coming from me. And then if you had everything if you had been good to yourself, if you had treated yourself with love and respect, if you had made decisions based on your strength and your power and what you know you deserve, where would you be? And then live in that moment. And then bring all of that positive energy into this present moment. And I promise you, you won't care that you ever met that guy. I promise you. You won't look back on him as somebody who's still causing you pain. You see it? That's how you do it. I just recently did that. And here's the thing. When you do that right, all of a sudden everything falls into place and it looks like it was supposed to happen that way. And when you try and tell somebody, listen, you don't understand. I went back and I changed my past. They'll go, no, you didn't. That happened 10 years ago and that happened 5 years ago. And that goes back to the physics experiment that was done in the 70s and again just recently, which proved that the material universe responds to our intent. Is light a particle or a wave? Scientists have proven that light acts like a particle or a wave depending upon the intention of the observer. But the most recent one that was done in Australia, because they have more technology, that experiment proved that light became a particle or a wave depending upon the intention of the observer by going back in time and changing itself to either a particle or a wave and then justifying it. So that when you look at what that light did in the past, you will see the evidence that it was a particle the whole time. And that's what happens when you do this. When you live in the present moment and you operate from your integrity and you live from your joy and you take actions fearlessly from your joy regardless of what's coming at you. What happens then is you create a different past which will create a future. And when you get to that future, it will look as though it was supposed. People go, well, of course that happened. You did X, Y, and Z, and that's why, blah, 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 blah. But you'll know that you did it by doing this exercise. You know, one of the reasons I'm with my girlfriend is because she has pointed this out to me. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't know that I do this. There have been times, one of the things that we do, we get together, we're having lunch, and we're talking about things in our life that we want to blah, 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 and I want this. And she says, you're not human. And I go, what do you mean? She says, because you make things happen that aren't possible. And I go, what are you talking about? That's nothing impossible about what that happened. She says, you don't remember. 2 months ago, you sat here and you were telling me about this, that, and the other thing, and then you stopped and you said, here's what I want, here's what's going to happen. And then you just acted like nothing happened and you went on and you forgot that you did that, and now you have X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. I was there, it wasn't possible, and now you have it. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't know that I do this. But now that I know that I do this, I'm doing it intentionally. So you can too. And all of the things that I provide, all of the things that I teach, the Vedic astrology, the 9 world rune readings, all of my books, the Qigong. 2 most important things, the Hul breath, the Qigong. Do those. Go in and find out the Hul breath. H-U-U-L breath. Go and do Thor's hammer. You need power. Go get that power. Okay, we talked about that. All right, I'm going to get to number 5. I've already touched on it, but I'm going to get to number 5 in a second. But before I do that, I want to check and see if there's any. I'm going to do some business, check and see if there's any questions, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so there is a couple of questions here. Romneon Germany says this might be a complicated question, but what do you think this existence is about? Very simply, this existence is about one thing and one thing only. Everything else is either coming from this or is icing on the cake or is there to get you back to this one thing. This existence is about living your joy, completely fulfilling yourself. There is only one thing you are going to think about. Remember this moment, because at some point we are all going to leave our bodies. We are all going to die. When you leave your body, remember that I told you this, because you'll know I was right. The only thing that you will care about when you leave your body is, did I do everything that I wanted? Did I fulfill all of my desires and fantasies? And if the answer is no, you will come back. You will beg to come back. And if the answer is yes, I completely lived everything that I wanted, then you will get a pass and you can move on to the next life or come back or do whatever the heck you want. So this life of spirituality is not about having to discipline and bang yourself over the head and the blood and the guilt. It's about having fun. Have as much fun as you can. You can't love people if you're not having fun, right? They say everything is about love. There are so many people out there who are in the tend or befriend mindset who think they're loving people. They're not. Love starts from joy. You have to have joy. First and foremost. From joy you can love, because then you will have an abundance and you'll want everybody to have fun. And you'll want to help everybody have fun with you. You won't need to fix anybody. You won't need to make anybody be better. You'll allow people to be in pain. You won't have to go and say, don't be in pain, it's okay. Just believe in God, it'll all be okay. You won't need to do that. You'll be able to look them in the eye and say, I understand where you're at. I've been there. I feel for you. And then you'll go on with your life. And if they want to have what you have, they'll follow you. You have to come first. Your happiness has to come first. So this existence is all about your happiness. Everything else is whatever. Fill in the blank. Neen Devon says, does celestial qigong affect physical strength or flexibility? I don't know why you're answering that question. As you can see, I'm a weightlifter, so it doesn't affect my strength in terms of that. You can do anything you want and do celestial qigong. If anything, it'll make you more flexible because it'll open up the meridians. So again, I don't know why you're asking that question, but it can only help you. Let me just put it that way. It can only help you. All right, again, I'm looking for questions. Okay, so those are my answers. I'm going to get on to number 5. Again, I'm going to do some business just for a few seconds while I gather my thoughts here. Wait, there's something else. Yeah, let me gather my thoughts here for a second. Okay, so I remembered there was something I wanted to say. I was talking about the example, the fictional example. It's not any human being. I was making a fictional example of somebody, a woman who invited a man or whatever, brought a man into her life who was destructive to her, and I talked about the first moment where she was out of her integrity when she brought the person into her life. As I was saying that, there was something else that wanted to come through, and I can only, being a male, I can only follow one track at a time. But what was deeper than that is, you can even go beyond that. So let me give you another example of how to do this exercise. Same example, the same woman, she goes back in time to the first moment where she made a choice to invite him into her life, which means that she stepped out of her integrity because she was operating from some kind of fear or some kind of misunderstanding that she wasn't going to be taken care of on some level. And she can even go back to that moment and say, where did that feeling come from? Because that feeling came from someplace further back. And so you can follow the feeling back, and sometimes you can get right to the first time it happened. And for some people, you may have the huge experience. I'll give you an example for me. This was a past life experience. This was a very challenging period in my life. I was 30 years old. Gosh, 54 now. 20, almost 25 years ago, 20-something years ago. And I was going through a lot. I was having a lot of depression. And I'm not just talking about being sad, but I'm like depression where you can't get out of bed and you don't know what you're feeling from one moment to the next. I'd be driving my car down the street and I'd have to stop and pull over because I was crying for no reason. That's a big tough guy like me. That's kind of embarrassing. And I went to a psychotherapist who wanted to put me on mood enhancers, and I'd seen people that did that, and some people it just destroyed them, it screwed them up for the rest of their life. I said, I'm not doing that. I'm not putting any chemicals in my body. I'm not saying that if you've been prescribed that you shouldn't follow your doctor's advice. I'm not saying that. If you've been prescribed medication, psychotropic medication, I am here officially telling you you should listen to your doctor. Okay? That was my choice. I chose not to do that. But they were being prescribed like candy back then. Everybody, if you had any kind of problem, they were prescribing you some kind of serotonin reuptake thing that was messing with your brain chemistry. And I was very unhappy. And I had back pain. I had like chronic back pain. And I went to one of my teachers. I had other teachers. This was one of my teachers. He was my yoga teacher. In fact, he's one of the only teachers that I still have in my life today. He's still my mentor. I go to him with all of my issues. What happened here? Are we offline? God damn it. Okay, so we went offline there for a second. Let me double check to make sure everybody's here. We went offline. Am I online? Is everybody still here? Okay. Alright, so we're back online. I don't know what happened. I don't know where I was. Bottom line is I followed that. I was able to go back to the first moment when I made a thought which took me out of my integrity in a past life. One of the main issues that I've had throughout my whole life is that I have struggled with being a spiritual teacher. And I have always sabotaged myself. I've always taught. I've always been like either, the top guy in class, or I'm, the assistant instructor. I always end up being the teacher. I've always had my own classes at some point. Whatever it is I study, I always end up teaching it. But whenever the pull was to become a teacher of deep spirituality, I would get afraid, and I would get resentful, and I would sabotage myself, and I was miserable. And so I was working with this teacher who told me, you're a master. You are supposed to be teaching. Whether you like it or not, you are a master, and everybody will see you that way, whether you like it or not. And I had a problem with that. And so I was doing this yoga routine he had given me, and he had given me this tape to listen to, which was supposed to give me a vision of my past life and blah, blah, blah. And because what happened was I was talking with him, and all of a sudden I started weeping, and I didn't know what I was crying about. And he said, what's going on? I said, I don't know. And he said, and we both kind of came to the conclusion I was having something that had to do with a past life. And he said, what is it? And I said, I don't know. But whatever it was really bad. And then I started saying things like, they killed me, they killed me, they killed me. And he said, what? And I said, I can't remember. So whatever it is, he gave me something to do that would jog my past life memory. And I had a bunch of dreams which I didn't really understand, which didn't make a whole lot of sense. The next morning I got up and I was doing my yoga posture and I was doing my thing and I was holding my breath and I was squeezing the breath out, which makes you feel like you're about to suffocate. And all of a sudden, I saw the moment. And I saw myself. It's getting easier to talk about now. Every time I would talk about it, I'd start to have a lot of emotions about it. It's getting easier to do that now. But sometimes I get a little verklempt. But I saw the moment I was being dragged through the streets of early Middle Age France. And I was a priest. And the mob, the village, was dragging me through the streets. I had already been beaten up and all that. And they were dragging me through the streets and they nailed me to the door of the church. And they proceeded to tear me to shreds. They were so furious with me. Because I had been teaching blasphemy. And the blasphemy I had been teaching was that they didn't, same thing I'm teaching now, that they didn't have to live according to, the rules of the Bible wasn't everything. And I was performing healings on people. And I think there was a woman that I was doing healings with, and she was young and whatever, and so somebody made up something that we had some kind of sexual relationship, which we didn't, that I remember. And as I was being torn to pieces, and the fury on the face of these people who were tearing me to pieces, I got angry and I got resentful and I got mad at God because I was a Christian in that lifetime. And I got mad at Jehovah. I got mad at Jesus and I said, I did what you told me to do. Why are you letting them do this? I did what you said. I did what you told me to do, and I died in that moment. And what I realized is that I have carried that with me. I don't know how many lives I've had since then. But I've carried that with me, and so on an unconscious level, every time I would put myself out there and do what I'm doing now, I would be afraid that somebody was going to kill me. So that's how you can go back in time. So I haven't done it, but I'm talking about now. I can go back in time to that moment. Now I can't erase what happened in that past life, but I can go back to that moment when, as I'm looking up at the sky, as my limbs and my heart and my neck is being torn from my body, and I'm saying, why did you do this to me? I did what you told me. I can go back and change that. And here's something to understand. What do you think angels are? They're you from the future going back into the past and telling yourself something. Don't do that. Don't get on that bus. Don't make that decision. It'll ruin your life. It's because in an alternate reality, you actually did. You stepped out of your integrity. And your future self is going back. Because the way the present works is that every moment has infinite numbers of branches coming out of it. Let me see if I have the picture for that. Every moment is like a tree. It has infinite numbers of branches. No, I don't have it offhand. Infinite numbers. And so there are infinite numbers of you. According to physicists, this isn't from just me, physicists will say that any reality that you can possibly imagine has to exist in another timeline. Which means that in every moment there are infinite numbers of possibilities and infinite numbers of choices are being made. And so you make a choice that puts you on a path. And that then breaks off into infinite numbers of choices. So you can travel back through each one of those intersections, which is major choice, major action, where you step out of your integrity. And you can go back and give yourself, you can be the angel that appears in front of you and says, hang on, do it this way instead. I'm telling you this one's better, do it this way. And then in your mind, live out what would have happened if you had done things differently. If you had stayed in your integrity. And stay with the emotions, because if you do it right, then emotions will come through you. And you will feel the joy of making that decision which empowers you. And keep doing that until you bring yourself back to the present moment. What ends up happening is then you end up erasing all of that You'll still have the memory of whoever it was you met or whatever happened. Maybe you won't, but you won't care. You won't care. They won't be able to hurt you anymore. And then that brings us to the next one. So I'm going to talk about that. So I think I answered that question, but we're going to get to number 5. I'm going to see if there's any questions. Sorry, you're just staring at my face while I'm looking at questions. Here, take a look at this for a second. Okay, so the only question I saw there was, what would you recommend for remembering past lives? There are so many ways to do it. You know, I'm not so concerned with the actual technique. You know, you can do past life regression, you can do hypnosis, you can, you know, do shamanic journeying, all that kind of stuff. The easiest way, as I said, is to tap into the emotion. Follow the emotion all the way back to its first coming to being. For instance, if you really are willing to look at yourself and really look at your unconscious mind, you can go back to the time when you were 3 or 4 years old, because that's when we do it in the present lives. That's when we do it, when we're toddlers. I'll give you an example in my life. Again, for a long time, finances were a struggle for me. And that was because when I was a kid, my dad, even though he was very well off financially, and even though he was a brilliant physicist, to this day they're still trying to figure out his equations and what he's come up with, he was so insecure because of his childhood that whenever I was successful, it made him upset and insecure, and I felt that. And because my father's love was so important to me, I made the decision on an unconscious level as a little 4-year-old that I would never be too successful because I didn't want to kill or hurt my dad. I wanted his love. And it took me decades of work to figure out when that decision was made. But that in itself wasn't enough. I still had to have the power to make different decisions and to create a different future. That's what the Vedic astrology readings are all about. I'm all about giving you tips, mantras, and rituals that you can do for you based on your astrological chart, which will help you to give you the power. That's what Celestial Qigong will do. Celestial Qigong will give you the power to make different decisions. But this step I'm talking about today, you can follow the emotion all the way back to that one. Now you don't have to. Here's the great thing. You don't have to go, you don't have to be a perfectionist about it. You can go back to any specific moment that you can remember when you stepped out of your integrity, and you can make a different decision and stick with that, the emotion of the different decision. And I'll tell you, you will. I'll give you an example. When I was a kid, that was my thing. So whenever I grew up, as I was growing up, whenever I was successful, I would feel really uncomfortable. And then I would sabotage myself. You know, I was telling this to somebody else. Every time I have to take a call from a client, before the phone rings, I'm afraid I'm not going to know what to say. And you see now, I can't shut up. Once I get on a roll, I can't stop talking. But I'm afraid I'm not going to have anything to say, and I'm not going to be able to help them, and they're going to judge me. So forget about the fear. The fear means nothing. Don't let the fear stop you. Make the decision and take the action. Go back to that moment where you had the feeling, and even in the fear, go back and tell yourself, I know you're afraid. Back to that woman, if that woman had that example, go back and tell that, go back in time to that woman who's afraid she's not going to be loved and won't be able to take care of her kids. Tell her the universe loves you, the universe will provide for you. You don't need to step out of your integrity to be with this man. He'll end up hurting you. Stay with yourself. The universe will take care of you. I know you're afraid. You can talk to yourself like that in the moments when you're taking action and it's scary. You can tell yourself, I know you're afraid. That's okay. Take the action and choose to believe. Choose to believe that the matrix will respond to your action based on strength. Okay? All right. Again, looking for the questions. Okay, no questions. Wait, Batrano asked, have I heard about Wim Hof? I think I've heard of him, but I'm not familiar with him, so I can't say anything intelligent, so I won't. I don't know enough about him to make say anything. So now on to number 5. What is number 5? Let us take a look. Okay, so we just talked about how to realign your past, go back in your past and realign yourself to your integrity. So here's the teaching. Staying in the present moment, remember that's, I don't know what that is, number 2 or 3. Stay in the present moment and learn what it feels like to be in your integrity. This is important. I just went through this. I felt when I was out, I had lost myself. And I remember saying to myself, I just want to get back into my integrity. And I threw that out to the universe. I said, bring me back to my integrity. And then a bunch of really challenging things happened, which forced me back into my integrity. And I'm here now. I remember, this is what it feels like. I'm in my integrity. In this moment, I'm in my integrity. So learn, and in your integrity doesn't mean morality. It means integrity in the literal sense of the meaning, when your self is, your body, your soul is held together. The Isa rune. You are aligned. You can call it alignment. I don't want to say in your joy, because you may not be feeling joy to be in your integrity. Joy is the result of the actions you take when you're in your integrity. Joy is the result of that. But stay where you're held together, where you are self-sufficient, where you don't need anybody else, where you feel empowered by your own spirit. Learn to live in that place. And then what will happen is that when you start to go out of that, you'll feel it, and you'll know, I can't do this, or I need to do something different. And you will make a choice that will bring you back into your integrity. Okay? So learn what it feels like. Challenging, fearful, otherwise, sad, happy. Who cares what the feeling is, but know what it feels like to stay in alignment with your integrity. And then continue to make choices based on that, and your future will be perfect. Now, you don't have to be perfect. Again, you can make mistakes. There's gray areas. I'm not saying that there aren't gray areas, and I'm not even saying that there aren't multiple choices. I know that in my life there have been times when I have been at a crossroads, and the universe has said, you know, it really doesn't matter. You can do this one or that one. It's going to be the same eventually. You're going to come to the same lessons. It'll just be a different road. That's okay, too. There isn't the one path. Maybe there is. I'm not here to say one way or another. That's for you to find out. But now let's get to number 5, which is, what is number 5? Make a firm, what did I say? Okay. So number 5 is making firm future alignments. Now, this is something you do when your life is going along You know, like for me, I have a future alignment that I want to create. You've heard me talk about my little home. I live in this little home. I actually live in the middle of the city, and I'm about half an hour drive from my favorite beach, my favorite surf spot. I want to live right on my surf spot, but I don't have the money to do that yet. But I love my little home. And I remember when I created this, because I was living in a place and it was really chaotic, and I made some decisions about what I wanted. The intensity of your decision based on what you really want is important. And I made some decisions about what I wanted. I wanted a home that had no shared walls. I wanted cheap rent. I wanted to be in a backyard surrounded by plants, and I wanted to not hear anybody else. I wanted to be able to do what I'm doing now, make a bunch of noise, or sleep until 12 or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I knew exactly what I wanted, and then I was so unhappy where I was, I just left, and I applied for this place here, and they had just built this little house. I'm the first one to live here. They literally built it for me, and it's set up. I knew what I wanted in terms of, I wanted to have my bed in a little alcove with a little thing and a television, and it was already set up that way. I just had to put my bed there. So I've got everything that I planned out perfectly. Now the only thing missing is that I'm not right on my beach. So I am working on that. So this is a scenario where things are good, things are okay, they're going along in a good way. It's not like you know anything is really wrong, it's just you want an upgrade. Based on what? Your soul desire. It is my soul desire to surf. I want to be able to wake up in the morning, look out my window, and decide which surfboard I need. I want to be able to, if it's in the afternoon and we have one of those Santa Anas where the wind is offshore in the afternoon, I don't want to have to drive, you know, an hour and a half through traffic to get to the beach. I want to be able to look at my window and go, oh wow, man, I'm going to take that board out right now. I've got a client in 2 hours. I can go surfing for half an hour. And phew, that's what I want. So you may be having that too. So the way you do that is you make a firm decision. I told you about the decision I made that healed me and that got me out of my marriage and got me back doing, you know, things that were impossible at that time. And that was, I had decided, because in that moment I knew what made me happy again. I wasn't conscious that I was doing all these things. That was just how I reacted in that moment. But I finally got sick and tired of being sick and tired. I got sick and tired of being in pain and being miserable and being trapped and being with somebody that didn't appreciate me. Now, ironically, I didn't choose to leave my marriage. She chose to break it off. I actually doubled down on my commitment. I was going to stay in that marriage, and I was going to be a better husband, and I was going to have all these other things. But as it turned out, the universe said, no, it doesn't work like that. She's not in alignment with you. And so she ended up pushing me out. But I made the decision where I was going to surf, I was going to hike in the mountains, and I was going to be able to get back in the gym. And I was going to be free of all of the knee issues. I mean, if I went to the doctor and they x-rayed my knee, the doctor would have said, and they did say that, you know, you don't have any cartilage on this, and so the knee's always going to be a problem. It's always going to be swollen. It's not. There's nothing wrong with my knee. They were going to tell you, oh, you're always going to have pain in the joints. I couldn't even pick up a glass. I was in so much pain. And they said, oh, that's because of martial arts and because you did all that hand drumming and all the smacking on the drum, you know, tore all the tendons and you're in constant pain. And none of that's true. It was what's called TMS. Go watch my videos on back pain. You'll know what I'm talking about. I made the decision that I was going to be healthy and that I was going to do all the things that I wanted to do for as long as I wanted to do them, and nothing was going to stop me. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I was going to do it. So you make a firm decision, an unshakable decision. Pregnant pause for emphasis. Dramatic pause for emphasis. Make the decision. Now, you may bump into yourself. Before you make the decision, you might bump into your fears. And then you get to analyze your unconscious, which is telling you you're not good enough, or you don't deserve it, or, well, I don't need all of that, or I get joy out of my suffering. Sorry for picking on you. Those are all unconscious nonsense garbage. And then you can feel that you're afraid to make that decision. That's okay. Be honest with yourself. Bump into that fear and be afraid. And then you do the other things that I give. Get the Vedic astrology from me. Do the Qigong exercises, or get celestial Qigong. Do the rituals. Do the spell of the 9 knots. Read my book on The Secret Shamanic Commandment to a Perfect Life. Read my book on Thunder Shamanism so you can learn. Read my book on the runes. My book's on the runes so you can learn how to use the runes. These are all tools for only one thing. The only thing that all these tools, all this spirituality here, is only here to teach you how to play around with all the little ticks, the tricks and things and the cheats inside of the matrix so that you can do one thing, which is be happy. That's the only thing that matters, is being happy. And you have a responsibility to yourself to be as happy as you can possibly stand. That is the only commandment. When you die, you will look back on your life and you will go, did I give myself everything I wanted? And if the answer is no, you will be forced to come back, because you're like, I am going to get the most out of that physical world. I'm going back. And when you've done everything, you can be like my ancestors who say that when you die in battle, you go to Valhalla. Dying in battle means that you lived fearlessly and you weren't afraid to die, which means that when you make choices to go after the things you truly love, you will feel on an unconscious level like you might die from this. In some cases, you might actually believe you're going to die. For me to divorce my ex-wife meant I had to give up everything that I had and have nothing and be on the street in pain with diseases at 49 years of age with no money, no savings. I literally was facing death. And I made the choice to go after what I wanted. And look at me now. So that's what dying in battle means. When you die in battle, means you go after your joy regardless of the fear. And when you live your life that way, that when you die, you died in that moment of fearlessness, then you will go to Valhalla, the Hall of the Chosen. Then you will go to the next life, whatever it is. So you want to know how to not reincarnate? That's the way to do it. Okay. So I've gone through all 5. I'm going to do some business and see if there are any last minute questions, and we'll take it from there. Where's my this thing? Okay, Chris Banks asks, actually let me see it again. Chris Banks asks, what do you appreciate about Vedic astrology, numerology, that you don't see in the Western tradition? What do I appreciate about Vedic astrology that's not in the Western tradition? Vedic astrology is connected to the Vedic religion, which has an unbroken connection into prehistory. I say that all the time. It means when you get to a real teaching that has an unbroken connection into prehistory, then there's a good chance that the methods and the techniques within that system are going to be extremely effective. The Western tradition, by meaning anything that's been created in the Western tradition, the European-based tradition over the past 2,000 years, because what happened is that Europe broke from its Indo-European unbroken tradition, and so once you break that, it's very hard to get back into the flow of that teaching. This is why in Taoism and in Hinduism you have Diksha, which is the teacher will put his hand on you or do something like that, or do some kind of a ceremony to connect you to the power of his tradition, which gives you an energetic link to his ancestors, which means that the ancestors or the ascended masters will have direct access to teach you. Western society broke from that, and there is a cost. When you break that tradition and that kind of violence that was done, it's not impossible, but there's a lot that has to be done. So the practical answer is that, you know, I've looked into a lot of Western stuff. I've looked into a lot of Western magic, a lot of Western teachings, certainly modern Western religion, Christianity, which I include all of the monotheist religions, Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam are all a new tradition that has broken. The monotheist tradition is bent on destroying the ancient connections. You know, there's a guy on my channel who wants to get into an argument with me about Christianity, and he wanted to put up a video about, you know, why he doesn't believe in reincarnation. And there's really nothing to get into an argument with about, because the whole agenda behind anything he says is to discredit any other religion besides Christianity. And the agenda of Christianity was to go in and to destroy all of the ancient teachings. And if you want to learn all about that, I would suggest that you read this book. Where did it go? Read this book. I will tell you exactly how they did that. So the point is that there is a cost when we break with the ancestral connection. And so modern Western traditions, even when, you know, you've got like Asatru, neo-heathenism, you've got Wicca, you've got even Druidism. And I say that with some, because there's some Druid stuff that's actually got some power to it. But in my experience, the majority of the Western traditions, and with that I even include neo-shamanism, like Native American shamanism, where you've got white people trying to put together Native American traditions without any authority, that all falls into this same category. We call it, you know, fluff, or, you know, fluffy bunny stuff, because you can feel it doesn't have any power in it. And it's because people are trapped in their intellect, and that's what happened. Christianity taught people to live in their intellect. I'll give you an example. The only way that you can believe the Christian religion is if you adopt the intellectual belief that that you are sinful, that God demands a blood sacrifice in order to forgive you, and that Jesus died on the cross and rose from the dead. If you don't believe those things, you're not saved. It's very clear in that book, which means if you don't adopt this intellectualized belief, you will die. Which means that people, out of fear, went and started living in their intellect, and they still live there. Our whole modern Western society, which is now going all over the globe, is teaching people to live in their intellect, which is what? This. Living on the internet, living in your intellect. This is why people are, that's especially As time goes on, as kids are growing up, they're totally addicted. This is why people believe that the Matrix is a computer code. And when you tell them it's not a computer code, they get very upset and they say it is. That's because they literally live in a computer code. They've been doing it since they were born. Their moms hand them a device. From the moment they come out of the womb, they have a device. It's a tool, nothing more. So the reason why so that's the practical, I've rant and rave about that, but Vedic astrology, it works. I don't know how they figured it out, but they did, but it works. And when I look at somebody's chart, I can tell which planets want to work with them. I can tell which deities, the names of the deities that want to work with them. I can tell which direction they need to face. I can tell which element they need to worship. I can tell all kinds of things from the chart. So that's why I don't just give out, I give out a lot of rituals and things to do, like the elf ritual. Everybody should do that. Just look on my channel for the elf ritual. Everybody should do that. The spell of the 9 knots. Everybody should do that. That's one of those things that works for everybody. But when it comes to your specific ritual for you to either give you spirituality to help you on your path, or to help you get money, there are 3 different rituals for that. I can see it in your chart. Western society doesn't do that. Western astrology, there's some good things about it. I don't know enough about it. I can't talk about it with any, real knowledge, but I can tell you my experience of it is that it's off in my life. And there are times when people will think they're a certain sign, and because Vedic astrology makes different calculations, you'll find out you're not a Leo, you're actually a Cancer. You'll find out your rising sign isn't the same. You'll find out all kinds of things. It's because they did things differently, and I think partly because they had an unbroken connection, whereas in Europe, astrology in Europe had to deal with, you had to hide because the church was coming at you, and if you got caught doing astrology, you'd get strung up or flayed alive, and so I think they made some mistakes. And I think all the magic that was created, Western magic, is highly Christian. There's a very strong Christian influence. You're praying to Christian, angels and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying it doesn't work. I know it's very powerful and a lot of it works, but there's some fundamental problems. One of it is that it looks like it looks at the universe as being arbitrary. Chaos magic is a perfect example. Chaos magic says that this universe is arbitrary and it's only what you focus on. And so they focus on symbols and they try and pound it into the universe. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But traditions that have an unbroken connection into prehistory have an understanding that magic, you can't force magic onto the universe. You have to have a cooperative relationship with the universe, which means that there's an assumption in that belief that there is a code within your own spirit that dictates everything. Western society lives in Christianity brought oblivion. That's why science doesn't believe that plants have feelings. That's why science believes that everything is there's just that nothing has, that's why physics experiments that say that light responds to your intent, they've proven it mathematically, but they scratch their heads because it doesn't jive with the assumption of Western society, which says that everything is dead and nothing means anything and everything is arbitrary. That comes from Christianity. Christianity put that first, wiped out the meaning that we had, made us afraid that we lived in this empty universe, and then said, there's only God, now you have to worship Jehovah. Take your cross and worship Jehovah and go to heaven. That's where all that came from. So to answer your question, that's one of the reasons, but the bottom line is that it works. All the stuff, I only teach stuff that works. A lot of modern Western stuff, a lot of modern Western heathen magic, a lot of modern Western rune magic is arbitrary stuff that doesn't work. Some of it is great, but a lot of it doesn't work. I only teach things that I have proven, and if I can't prove it, I don't teach it. Okay, so I probably answered a lot of your questions. Okay, any more questions? I don't know who Samael Aounware is, so I can't talk about him. But it sounds from you like I'd like him. C. Betrano. Okay, so that's it. No more questions. I've talked for 2 hours and 45 minutes. Holy cajoles. All right, so that's it for now. I've already plugged myself over and over and over again. Go to thunderwizard.com if you want to go deep into teaching. Start from the bottom, scroll, keep scrolling, hit more videos. Scroll all the way to the bottom. You'll have to subscribe, watch those videos. I go into depth. I'm going to go into even more depth about this stuff, and especially how to use the runes, how to use the thunder wheel to create things. I'm going to go very deep into that. If you're thinking of working with me, you better hurry up, because when fall comes around, my schedule gets full, and so my prices go up and I have less time. So take advantage of me now while you can. Astrology.thunderwizard.com, runereadings.thunderwizard.com, transformation.thunderwizard.com. You can all get different things there. So that's it for now, my friends. I'm going to sign off. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your transformation and your empowerment. Until next time, remember that you are everything, and you've created everything, including me. You created me and brought me into your life, so there must be something I'm saying that you wanted me to tell you. So go back and listen. All right, that's it for now, my friends. Talk to you soon.